In 1192, the Mediterranean was a volatile web of rival trade networks. At the center sat the Republic of Venice, a city built on water with no agricultural land, entirely dependent on maritime commerce for its survival. To navigate this perilous environment, the Venetian aristocracy elected Enrico Dandolo as Doge. He was elderly, blind, and a ruthless businessman who harbored a bitter personal grudge against the Byzantine Empire after an unceremonious expulsion from Constantinople years prior. Dandolo's first tactical strike was financial. Venice was losing ground to Byzantine currency manipulation, and he responded by minting a new silver coin, the grosso. Designed with a standardized weight that matched familiar Eastern coins, the grosso quickly overwhelmed the markets. It bypassed Byzantine banking controls, cornered northern Italian trade, and triggered an intense commercial war across the Aegean. Enforcing this aggressive economic expansion required immediate, overwhelming military projection. Venice possessed exactly that inside the arsenale. Behind these 15-meter walls, thousands of workers operated on a massive pre-industrial assembly line scale. They prefabricated keels, standardized hulls, and stockpiled weapons to output warships faster than any rival state. Dandolo took a vulnerable merchant republic and optimized it into an armed corporate superpower. He built the machine. Now he just needed the right crisis to deploy it. That crisis arrived in 1198. Pope Innocent III called for the Fourth Crusade, specifically targeting Egypt as the strategic stepping stone to capture Jerusalem. The Crusaders faced an immediate logistical hurdle. They needed to move 33,500 men across the Mediterranean. Only the Venetian Republic had the infrastructure to build a fleet of that size. Dandolo agreed to construct the vessels, but demanded a staggering 85,000 silver marks. This single fee amounted to double the annual income of the entire nation of France. Venice suspended all commercial shipping for a year to focus entirely on constructing 240 transports and warships. The Crusaders were legally bound to the contract. This chart shows the Crusaders' financial reality when they arrived in Venice. The money they managed to collect fell severely short of the 85,000 marks owed, leaving the Holy Army bankrupt and trapped on the Venetian lagoon. Dandolo had a pressing ulterior motive for crippling the Crusaders financially. Venice was running a highly lucrative and strictly illegal smuggling racket, supplying timber, iron, and weapons to Muslim markets in Alexandria, Egypt. A Christian invasion of Alexandria would destroy those illicit supply chains and sever Venice from its most profitable commercial partner. The mission to reclaim the Holy Land dissolved into a mountain of inescapable debt, held by a Doge whose own business interests required the crusade to fail. To extract value from the stranded army, Dandolo offered a harsh compromise. He would suspend a portion of their debt if the Crusaders helped Venice capture the rebellious rival port city of Zara. Zara was a Catholic city. When the Crusaders sacked it to appease their creditors, Pope Innocent excommunicated the entire crusading army. Desertions spiked, but the bulk of the force ignored the papal decree and stayed tethered to the Venetian fleet. As winter halted naval movement, a deposed Byzantine prince named Alexios IV approached the Crusader leadership. He promised to pay off their remaining Venetian debt if they sailed to Constantinople and placed him back on the throne. This map shows Dandolo's strategic pivot. He championed the prince's cause, officially diverting the entire fleet away from his trading partners in Egypt and steering it directly toward Constantinople. The detour perfectly aligned with Dandolo's personal animosity toward the Byzantines, while presenting a clear opportunity to cripple the empire that had restricted Venetian market shares for decades. By leveraging international debt, Dandolo systematically converted a massive European military expedition into his own private mercenary force, dispatching them to execute a calculated corporate strike. Once in Constantinople, the puppet emperor plan collapsed. Alexios was unable to produce the promised funds, leaving the Crusaders unpaid, stranded, and angry enough to besiege the city for themselves. On April 12, 1204, the assault reached its climax. Despite his age and blindness, Doge Dandolo stood at the bow of his ship and drove his massive war galley directly ashore to establish a beachhead under heavy fire. The defenses broke, and the Crusaders poured inside. For 3 days, they systematically looted the wealthiest Christian city on earth, stripping palaces of their gold, desecrating ancient churches, and hoarding sacred relics to settle their accounts. Among the spoils were the triumphal quadriga, 4 massive bronze horses seized from the hippodrome. They were shipped back to Venice to be mounted on St. Mark's Basilica as ultimate trophies of conquest. This map shows the geopolitical aftermath of the sack. Venice claimed 3/8 of the shattered Byzantine territory, absorbing strategic choke points, Crete, and dozens of Aegean islands, to form a sprawling colonial network known as the Stato de Mar. Controlling these islands eliminated their Pisan and Genoese rivals from the immediate region, securing unhindered maritime access through the Black Sea directly to the overland terminals of the Silk Road. The sheer volume of wealth extracted from the Byzantine capital financed centuries of Venetian dominance. The physical evidence of that heist remains literally embedded in the marble and bronze across the facade of Venice to this day. The Fourth Crusade began as a religious mandate, but ended as a hostile corporate takeover. Dandolo weaponized international debt to crush his competition, proving his ultimate allegiance was always to the bottom line.